question. And the next question is the question where I need to get the trend equation. The trend equation is given by a simple equation. Y is equal to a plus bx. If I have a scatter plot and I need the line of best fit, I use regression analysis in order to get this. Now, if I am dealing with this trend line, I'm going to be dealing with the same thing. I'm going to use regression analysis. In order for me to get the regression line equation, I need to get the value for B and I need to get the value for A. Let's start off with, how do I get the value for B? Turn to your formula sheets and the equation to calculate B is given here. Okay, this seems like a very, very long equation, but it is not so. B is equal to N is the sample size. This sigma stands for the sum of x times y. Sum of x, sum of y, sum of x all squared, sum of x squared. Now I'll go further in terms of how I'm going to use this, but for now this is the equation to calculate B. The equation to calculate A is given as this in your formula sheets, but I do not like to use this equation. The reason I do not like to use it is, if I have to look at this portion here, what is that? The sum of y divided by n. I've explained it previously. The sum of y divided by n is actually the mean. So that can be written as the mean of y. Likewise, the sum of x divided by n, that can be written as the mean of x. So therefore, I prefer using that equation. And once I get this equation, guys, I now have my trend line equation. How do I go about getting the value for B and the value for A? I now go into another table. Now this may seem monotonous, but this table gives me the trend line. I start off by using my X code. Remember I dealt with the X code before, 1 right up to 12. Then I have my Y as from the original question as well. These are my Y values coming down. Now how do I know that I need to put in here x times y and x squared? Very, very easy. I get this from the equation. According to my equation, I need to get the sum of xy. So it means I need to know x times y. I also need to get here x squared, and that is why I know I need x squared. Now remember guys, this is x, that is y. In order for me to get xy, it means x multiplied by y. 1 times 20 gives me a value of 20. 2 times 30 is 60. 3 times 39 is 117. I'm sure by now you get the picture of what I'm doing. Monotonous, but at the same time, guys, you need to be accurate. What about x squared? Self-explanatory. This is x. If I square that, I get the value for here. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. And on and on and on. Until I come up with 12 squared, which is 144. Right at the bottom, if I have to add up all these x values here, I get the sum of x. Agreed? And the sum of x is equal to 78. Working with the 78, I can get the mean. The mean of x is 78 divided by 12, which is equal to 6,5. Likewise, these are y's. If I go down and add up all the y values, I end up with the sum of y. If I divide by 12, because the sample size is 12, I get the mean of y, which is 55,5. Now what happens if I have to add up all these values? Now that's correct. I get the sum of xy. And the sum of xy is 5069. And lastly, guys, what about x squared? If I have to add up all the x squared values coming down here, I get the sum of x squared, which is 650. For me to get the trend equation, I'm simply going to use these values with the sample size, which is 12, and I'm going to get the trend line equation. I've calculated all of this from the previous table. It seems long, but once you get the hang of it, guys, it's very, very easy. Okay, trend equation, y is equal to a plus bx. That's where I'm heading. The formula to calculate b is as so. What's the value for n? 12. The sum of xy, the sum of xy is this value, minus the sum of x. What's the sum of x? 78. The sum of y is here, 666. N is 12. The sum of x squared. These are not the same. The sum of x squared is 650. The sum of x all squared is the 78 all squared. I simply plug the correct values into the equation. Using a calculator, I get the value 5,17. What about the value for a? A is equal to the mean of y minus b times the mean of x. The mean of y, I've got it. The mean of x, I've got it. The value for b, I've got. I simply calculate the value for a. Once I've got a and b, I now end up with my trendline equation, which is y is equal to 21,9 plus 5,17x. Easy.